Alright, hello, and welcome to another Bardic Ramble. Uh, this is going up pretty quickly after the previous one for a couple of reasons. The main one being that I just finished doing some recording, and I felt like doing some more. So this time, I'm going to be doing something fairly similar to the last one, where I'm reading a poem, or several, actually. I've got a few lined up because they're fairly short, and I didn't want to do a short video. As my dad suggested in the previous video's comments, I'm going to read some Edgar Allan Poe, hence the name of this episode, Edgar Allan Poe-etry. I am a big fan of puns, so that should come as no I shouldn't say that should come as no surprise. I'm just I just like puns. Clever wordplay specifically. But anyway, I've queued up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of Edgar Allan Poe's poems, one of which is a very famous one that I've left to the very end. And I haven't read any of them before, except for that very last one. In fact, I haven't even read them before I get started, so there may be a bit of stumbling in my reading of them. We'll see. So, the first one I've got here, because they're kind of in alphabetical order, is Alone. From childhood's hour I have not been, as others were I have not seen. As others saw I could not bring my passions from a common spring. From the same source I have not taken my sorrow I could not awaken, my heart to joy at the same tone, and all I loved alone. Then in my childhood in the dawn of a most stormy life was drawn, from every depth of good and ill, the mystery which binds me still. From the torrent or the fountain, from the red cliff of the mountain, from the sun that round me rolled in its autumn tint of gold, from the lightning in the sky as it passed me flying by, from the thunder and the storm, and the cloud that took the form, when the rest of heaven was blue, of a demon in my view. And that's all that's on that page for that poem. It feels incomplete, but that's what's written. So the next one we have is The Bells, which apparently has multiple parts. So, 1. Hear the sledges with the bells, silver bells. What a world of merriment their melody foretells! How they tinkle, tinkle, tinkle in the icy air of night, while the stars that oversprinkle all the heavens seem to twinkle with a crystalline delight, keeping time, 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 in a sort of runic rhyme, to the tintinabulation. That's a new word. Tintinabulation that so musically wells from the bells, 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 from the jingling and the tinkling of the bells. I have a feeling this is supposed to be a song. Now, I'm curious, before I go on to the second part, tintinabulation is a noun for a ringing or tinkling sound. Interesting. Looking at the use over time, seems it was mostly in use in the 1850s, dipped quite a bit in the 1950s, and then suddenly spiked up again in the last year. Weird. Anyway, part 2. Hear the mellow wedding bells, golden bells! What a world of happiness their harmony foretells! Through the balmy air of night, how they ring out their delight! From the molten golden notes, and in a tune, what a liquid ditty floats, to the turtle dove that listens while she gloats on the moon. Oh, from out the sounding cells, what a gush of euphony voluminously wells! How it swells, how it dwells on the future, how it tells of the rapture that impels to the swinging and the ringing of the bells, 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 of the bells, 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 to the rhyming and the chiming of the bells. Part 3. Hear the loud alarm bells, brazen bells! What a tale of terror now the turbulency tells! In the startled ear of night, how they scream out their affright! Too much horrified to speak, they can only shriek, shriek out of tune, in a clamorous appealing to the mercy of the fire, in a mad expostulation with the deaf and frantic fire, leaping higher, 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 with a desperate desire, and a resolute endeavour, now to sit or never, by the side of the pale-faced moon. Oh, the bells, bells, bells! What a tale their terror tells! Of despair, how they clang and clash and roar! What a horror they outpour on the bosom of the palpitating air! Yet the ear it fully knows, by the twanging and the clanging, how the danger ebbs and flows. Yet the ear distinctly tells, in the jangling and the wrangling, how the danger sinks and swells, by the sinking or the swelling in the anger of the bells, of the bells, of the bells, 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 in the clamour and the clangor of the bells. I've been saying of the bells enough that it's starting to get weird. Starting? Part 4. Hear the tolling of the bells, iron bells. What a world of solemn thought the monody. Monody? That's another new word. I'm actually just gonna... An ode sung by a single actor in a Greek tragedy or a poem lamenting a person's death. So, what a world of solemn thought their monody compels. In the silence of the night, how we shiver with affright at the melancholy menace of their tone. For every sound that floats from the rust within their throats is a groan. And the people, the people, that they that dwell up in the steeple, all alone, and who tolling, 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 in that muffled monotone, feel a glory in so rolling on the human heart a stone. They are neither man nor woman, they are neither brute nor human, they are ghouls, and their king it is who tolls, and he rolls, 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 rolls a pain from the bells, and his merry bosom swells with the pain of the bells, and he dances and he yells, keeping time, 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 in a sort of runic rhyme, to the paean of the bells, keeping time, 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 in a sort of runic rhyme, to the throbbing of the bells, 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 to the sobbing of the bell, keeping time, 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 as he knells, 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 in a happy runic rhyme, to the rolling of the bells, 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 to the tolling of the bells, 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 to the moaning and the groaning of the bells. That one definitely feels like it should have a melody behind it. I wonder if someone's done that. Edgar Allan Poe, The Bells Melody? What is the tone? No, that's not what I mean. Doesn't look like anyone's actually done a melody to it. That could be interesting. So the next one is A Dream Within a Dream. And I need a drink because the bells took their toll on my voice. Take this kiss upon the brow, and in parting from you now, thus much let me avow, you are not wrong who deem that my days have been a dream. Yet if hope has flown away, in a night or in a day, in a vision or in none, is it therefore the less gone? All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. I stand amid the roar of a turf-tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of the golden sand. How few, yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep, while I weep, O God, can I not grasp them tighter? Can I not grasp them with a tighter clasp? O God, can I not save one from the pitiless wave. Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream? So that one's from what I can tell, it is a poem on the march of time, which is kind of neat. The next one is Evening Star. 'Twas noontide of summer and mid-time of night, and stars in their orbits shone pale through the light of the brighter, cold moon. Mid planets her slaves, herself in the heavens, her beam on the waves. I gazed awhile on her cold smile, too cold for me. There passed as a shroud, a fleecy cloud, and I turned away to thee, proud evening star, in thy glory afar, and dearer thy beam shall be, for joy to my heart is the proud part thou bearest in heaven at night, and more I admire that distant fire than that colder, lowly light. Interesting to think of, the noontide of summer and the mid-time of night, and the stars in their orbit shone pale through the light, means that it's nighttime around the time of the solstice, and the evening star is the same as the morning star of Venus, which obviously isn't a star at all, so it could not be shining at midnight. But it's a poem. Oh, this looks to be a decently long one. Not as bad as the bells, but still a long one. And it is called Fairyland. Dim vales and shadowy floods and cloudy-looking woods, whose forms we can't discover for the tears that drip all over. Huge moons there wax and wane, again, again, every moment of the night, forever changing places, and they put out the starlight with the breath from their pale faces. About 12 by the moon dial, one more flimsy than the rest, a kind which, upon trial, they have found to be the best, comes down, still down and down, with its centre on the crown of a mountain's eminence, while its wide circumference in easy drapery falls over hamlets, over halls, wherever they may be, o'er the strange woods, o'er the sea, over spirits on the wing, over every drowsy thing, and buries them up quite in a labyrinth of light. And then how deep, oh deep, is the passion of their sleep. In the morning they arise, and their moony covering is soaring in the skies, and with the tempests as they toss, like almost anything, or a yellow albatross, they use that moon no more, for the same end as before. Videlicet? That is a completely new word. Videlicet, a more formal term for viz, namely in other words. Oh, okay. Used to introduce a gloss or explanation. Okay. Videlicet a tent, which I think extravagant. Its atomies, however, into a shower dissever, of which those butterflies of earth who seek the skies, and so come down again, never contented things, have brought a specimen upon their quivering wings. Whew, how long's this video been going? Almost 15 minutes so far. Wow. And I've still got 6 more poems to go. And all sorts of lengths. So the next one we've got is The Haunted Palace. And then there's Lenore. Sonnet to Science, that's a real short one. The Sleeper's super long. Silence, that's a short one. And then the famous one at the end. I kind of feel, because of how long I've been doing this, that I'm going to just do those 2 short ones, because the Bells and the Fairylands were really long. So we'll do a Sonnet to Science, and then the Silence, and then the famous poem. Which, yes, I'm being obscure on purpose. But Sonnet to Science. Science! True daughter of old time thou art, who alterest all things with thy peering eyes. Why preyest thou thus upon the poet's heart, Vulture, whose wings are dull realities. How should he love thee, or how deem thee wise? Who wouldst not leave him in his wandering, to seek for treasure in the jewelled skies? Albeit he soared with an undaunted wing, hast thou not dragged Diana from her car, and driven the Hamadryad from the wood, to seek a shelter in some happier star? Hast thou not torn the Naiad from her flood, the elfin from the green grass, and from me, the summer dream beneath the tamarind tree? Dragged Diana from her car. Sounds interesting in hindsight, but I have a feeling that it's speaking of Diana as in the, to do with the moon? I think there's a goddess of the moon who's Diana. Yes. Then from her car, well, car is an old term because it's short for carriage. But anyway, the next one is silence. There are some qualities, some incorporate things, that have a double life which thus is made, a type of that twin entity which springs from matter and light, evinced in solid and shade. There's a twofold silence, sea and shore, body and soul. One dwells in lonely places, newly with grass o'ergrown, some solemn graces. Some human memories and tearful love render him terrorless. His name's no more. He is the corporate silence, dread him not. No power hath he of evil in himself, but should some urgent fate, untimely lot, bring thee to meet his shadow, nameless elf, that haunteth the lone regions where hath trod no foot of man, commend thyself to God. Alright. So now for the famous one, which will become obvious its title when I read the first 5 words. So I'm not going to say the title because everyone's going to know what it is. One more drink. Which finishes the glass. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here for evermore. Maybe I should have read Lenore. Didn't mean to rhyme. Still amused I did, though. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now to the beating of my heart I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortals ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." And this I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard the tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when, with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Are you my raven? Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with the mane of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then, then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering in from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is, on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marvelled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore, for we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such a name as nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word did he outpour. I read that wrong. As if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further then he uttered, not a feather then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by a reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore. But the raven, still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of the bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. But the raven, still beguiling, oops, I already read that part. Scroll down. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight glowing o'er she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, or if bird or devil, whether tempter sent, or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate, yet all undaunted on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, it's repeated, never mind. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, within the distant Aidenn, it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whose angels name Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign in parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting, get thee back into the tempest of the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as token of that lie. Thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting, on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. And there. That is my big Edgar Allan Poe-etry reading. I hope you enjoyed. I'm not going to put up an end card this time, because that end card is in fact meant for my other channel. But I will put up the links. So above me here should be the Game Start channel. Then, I don't know, maybe a couple video suggestions. I'll let YouTube decide what to put here. It'll change for each person probably. I hope I edited that well enough. But that's it for me tonight. I'll just upload this, get it, published on the morrow, because I'm a bit late for bed. Like I said, I just got done, streaming, technically. So till the next, live well.